What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a series review. So I have recently sat down this January and focused primarily on hockey romance slash hockey themed books because I realized I had quite a few of the sports based books on my bookshelf, and I was like, it's probably time that we start tackling these books. One author that has been very popular in this sphere is Elle, and she happened to do multiple series kind of focused in on hockey as well as the legacy stories of the characters from this first series and spin-off series and so on and so forth. So I decided it would be fun to jump into the off-campus series. So I thought we would talk a little bit about my experience with the off-campus series and kind of go through the books and a quick review today. For those of you that are new, welcome. My name is Jaya and I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday with bookish related content. If you're a big avid reader and you enjoy anything bookish, or if you're just in the vibes for a good book, then you're definitely in the right place. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. As always, it's so exciting to be able to talk all things books with you guys and create this bookish community. So without further ado, let's jump into the series review. So today, as mentioned, we are going to be going through Elle Kennedy's off-campus series. I am so excited to talk about this hockey romance series. I thought that this was such a fun series to read. I didn't really have a lot of hope initially walking into them because I do know that a lot of people say that it's very like smut heavy and it's very intense in general when we're talking about the genre. So I wasn't sure if it was really going to be the right fit for me. However, I was very pleasantly surprised overall with this series. So without further ado, let me break down all the different books. So the first book in the series is called The Deal. I absolutely adore this book. This starts with Garrett Graham, who happens to be the captain of the ice hockey team at his university, also gearing up to go pro. He comes from a very interesting childhood background. He's not that close with his father. He's like basically also a hockey legend, and his home life was a little bit full of turmoil. He has lost his mom, but he showcases a very carefree attitude. Enter Hannah. Hannah is our main female lead. Some trigger warnings in this book. It does talk about rape, abuse, those types of things in the past. Hannah is a victim. This is introduced very early in the book, so I feel like that's not a huge spoiler. But basically, she wants to figure out how to get the attention of a guy that she's interested in. Garrett, on the meanwhile, is in a class with Hannah where she happens to be one of a few students, 4 or 5 students in total, who happen to get an A on a crazy ethics paper. So in order to mutually assist each other, Garrett basically hires Hannah to be his tutor, and in return, he offers to act as her boyfriend in order to increase her clout so she can garner the attention of the captain of the football team that she is interested in. Needless to say, it turns into a romance. So this is a fake dating trope overall. I thought this book was very well written. I really enjoyed it. There is a lot of spice in this book. I do think the spice can be skipped if you're not that interested in it. Even though that is one of the plot pieces of the book, I would recommend reading some of those scenes because they're just funny the way that they turn up and like how it's actually included in the plot device. Overall, I would say that this book was very entertaining. It was a lot of fun, and I was really reading for both of these characters throughout the entirety of this book. Like, I really wanted the two of them to end up together, and I was really enjoying the backgrounds of these characters and the story. I appreciated the fact that outside of just the classic romance and like the sex scenes and all that kind of stuff, there was actually a lot of depth to the characters themselves, and it was a romance that I could get behind. So the romance actually helped heighten the characters' relationships rather than taking away from the plot point of the book for me personally. On, I would say, par for all of the books. They're probably all around like 3 spice level chilies except for one of the books, and I'll go over that one shortly. But this one was probably one of my favorites in the series. This was a solid 4.25 stars for me, and the moment I finished this, I was very excited to pick up the next one. The next book in the series is called The Mistake. This is basically going to be following the story of Grace, who happens to be a freshman at the university, and Logan, who is another major hockey player on the team. He also wants to go professional, but he has a lot of crazy things going on at home where he's not 100% sure whether he can follow his dream for hockey or if he has to go back home. He's dealing with a dad who's an alcoholic, and so he and his brother are basically the ones primarily running the shop that his father owns, that kind of pays the bills and maintains their house. The deal that Logan and his brother have made is basically that his brother would handle everything while Logan's in school, and then as soon as Logan graduates, he's going to go back home and take care of everything so that his brother and his girlfriend get a much needed break. Grace is a one other thing I forgot to mention in the deal. Hannah's profession is music. So I also like the fact that all the characters have unique interests in this book. It's not like your classic specialties. So Grace is very interested in doing like production and things like that. She works basically on campus with a radio station where she helps with the airing of the popular series in the radio station. Logan is basically at this point jealous of Hannah and Garrett. He thinks he's in love with his best friend's girl. He doesn't know what to do with himself, so he's basically throwing himself into hookup after hookup after hookup, and they basically go nowhere. Enter Grace. He happens to knock on this girl's door mistakenly. They end up, hooking up, and she lies and says that she had a good time. He knows in his head that this didn't happen, so he goes back for seconds and slowly starts to realize that he actually enjoys Grace's personality. Grace is a very fun character because she's shy. She's very quiet. You kind of get to see her seasonally throughout the book. Initially she comes off as very young, very naive, very clearly new freshman vibes, not necessarily the greatest friend group. And then there's a vacation that comes up. She's out of town. She comes back almost as a new person, but it's just a very cute romance between Logan and Grace. And he's kind of the one pursuing her. And as we near closer to the end of the story, you kind of get to see a little bit more depth from both of their characters, as well as growth from both of their characters. And they do deal with some pretty intense situations that are happening at home. That being said, I think this book wasn't my absolute favorite. I did enjoy it. I didn't just think it was my absolute favorite. I don't even know what trope this really is. It's not really Grumpy Sunshine. It's not really I guess maybe a little found family-ish vibes. I don't know for sure. I do love the fact that when Logan commits to Grace, he is a little bit of golden retriever puppy dog vibes, which I did enjoy. There's a little bit of a hero complex going on there too. So it's a fun read. It's very interesting. I would say this one was a solid 3.75 to 4 stars for me. It wasn't a terrible book by any means. It just wasn't my favorite, but this one I did overall enjoy quite a bit. The next book in the series is The Score. This one was my least favorite book. This is following the story of Dean De Laurentiis, who happens to be the biggest playboy on campus. He has a different girl under his thumb all the time. Sometimes he's having threesomes and foursomes, all kinds of crazy things. He's also very into having public display of affection. So his friends have gotten very used to coming into the house and seeing him just going at it with some random chick. Enter Allie. Allie happens to be Hannah's best friend. She just got out of a relationship that she's been on and off in for the past 4 years. She's never really been alone outside of a relationship. So she's kind of going through this period where she's trying to stay away from men and also discover herself, and inadvertently ends up hooking up with Dean. Dean decides that he's absolutely in love with this girl's skills, if you will, and decides to pursue her. And over time, they end up developing a real friendship and a relationship. Allie also wants to be an actress, so she is a drama major. And then, of course, Dean is into hockey. He also comes from a lot of affluence. He's your classic rich boy character. He has money coming out the wazoo. He also wants to go to law school. There's question mark as to his integrity, which we find out more about throughout the entire story, that he's actually a really good guy. There's also a question mark of whether he knows how to show up when something is going on. Allie is also shown as a very family-oriented girl. Her father has MS, and she's basically chosen to stay in Boston near her dad so that she can take care of him. Thoughts on this book. I really did not care for this book. I did not care for Elle. I did not care for Dean. I found both of the main characters very childish, very irritating, very difficult to appreciate. I also felt like the main issues that they go through were like, yes, it was important. There's a death that they deal with throughout the course of this book. And yeah, that was like important to see how they deal with difficult situations. But in general, like their relationship, their friendship, like it's just really hard for me to root for the two of them. It was very, very physical. This is probably the highest Chili Star rating for me. This is probably like a solid 4 Chili Stars. There were just random scenes with the two of them ripping each other's clothes off. This was not my favorite book. I'm just going to say that it was not bad by any stretch of imagination, but it was definitely not good. This is probably my least favorite in the off-campus series. I realize that a lot of people really love this book. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that if these characters spoke to you, that's great. They just didn't connect for me personally. I ended up giving this book a 2-star. Next up, I have The Goal. Now, this one was probably my favorite in the series. We have Sabrina James, who happens to be a woman with a mission. She wants to go to law school. She's graduating very high up in her class. She's just gotten, in through the interviewing process with Harvard, and she's really got her heart set on being a Harvard grad. She's gorgeous. She's stunning. She comes from a terrible background. She has a very creepy stepfather who's kind of always lingering and hanging around. She was basically raised by her grandmother because her mom just dropped her off and ran away. She's kind of coming from the slums. She's very hardworking. She's a scholarship student. She's also, got 2 jobs in order to be able to pay for everything that she needs. She helps out around the house, and she kind of feels like she doesn't deserve love. And it was just such a beautiful character to read because she's so, so strong, and she values the core relationships in her life so much, and it's just such a strong character to read. Enter Tucker, our main male lead here, John Tucker to be exact. He is puppy dog. He is as puppy dog as you get. Sweetest, sweetest, sweetest country boy man who is part of the hockey team as well. Knows he doesn't want to play hockey professionally, but has an idea of doing business, wants to go back to Texas to live with his not live with, but help be around his single mother because, Tucker lost his dad when he was just a young child, and his mom has kind of been doing everything to make ends meet. He has a beautiful relationship with his mom, but he also picks up odd jobs here and there in order to have pocket money to keep up with his friends, but absolute golden retriever vibes. These two characters together have an accidental pregnancy trope as they're trying to navigate the final year of college as well as their relationship. I also love the fact that Tucker is so patient with Sabrina. She has such a awful upbringing in the sense that she feels like she has to earn people's love and she doesn't know if she deserves love. So it takes a lot for her to accept that this man is interested in her, and his patience with pursuing her is absolutely beautiful to see as well. I also love the fact that he unconditionally supports her dreams and her desires to be a lawyer, never belittles her even when she's pregnant, like biggest cheerleader ever. Just such a wholesome book. And I think the thing I loved about this is, yes, it does start up with like a hookup scene between the two of them where it's more physical chemistry than anything. But this book, out of all the books, I feel like The Deal also did a very good job of it, but The Deal and The Goal, I feel like, are the ones where you get the most character development and the most character appreciation as the relationship progresses. And I think that's what I love about it. This book in particular, I thought was very wholesome. I love the found family vibes of this book. I love the relationship between the two characters. I love how things come to a head between her and some of the other team members in Tucker's life, who are some of his closest friends. Overall, just such a beautiful book, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This one was actually a 4.75 to 5-star read for me. I haven't quite settled, but I'm definitely leaning closer towards that 5-star mark. I really, really, really enjoyed this book. And then last but not least, we have The Legacy. The Legacy then follows the summary of all 4 of these characters set 4 years ahead after they've graduated from college. And it's basically following the story of the girls and the boys, and has sections of each book where you get to follow each of the 2 characters. You still, of course, get to see the interaction between all the characters, which is a lot of fun to see. And you also get to see how the girls now have a relationship. The boys have always had a relationship. The books really revolve around the boys, the 4 boys that live off campus in this house and their significant others. But it's also nice to see in this book that the significant others now have a relationship. Hannah and Allie have always been friends. Hannah is also very close to Grace and Sabrina. Sabrina was kind of welcomed by the girls very openly at the end of the goal. And so this book is just so much fun to kind of see where all the different characters end up and basically talking about their relationships, where they stand, what their goals are, what they're looking at in terms of life challenges and things like that. At the point that this book starts, Hannah is dropping her first song. She just wrote a song for a famous artist. She's working on an album. Garrett is a professional hockey player at this point who's part of the NHL. Logan is part of the NHL. We have Tucker, who is a successful business owner at this point, and Dean, who has pursued his passions. The girls are all doing very well for themselves. Allie has made it as an actress. She just did her first show. We have, Sabrina graduating from law school. We just have so many different things happening in this book, and I just think it's so much fun to read. Grace is finishing up college. She's like about to pursue her greater passion because remember, she was the youngest in the original series as a freshman. But this was just such a wholesome book. I really, really enjoyed this. I love how Elle Kennedy just kind of ties all of the question marks and all of the unstrung theories together and just closes out everyone's lives. I just think this was so beautiful to read, and I'm so excited to sink my teeth into the Graham effect, which is supposed to follow the children of Garrett and Hannah. So I'm just like very excited to jump into the next off-campus like spin-off. But this was such a lovely series. Overall, I would say this was a solid 4.25 stars for me. It was just so much fun to get the vibes of all the different characters. Overall, I would say I would give the entire series a solid 4 stars. I do think it's worth reading. I just think that the entire series is very wholesome, very fun. I love the found family vibes. I love the relationship with all the characters. I do think that this is a pretty solid spice level. This is like easily a 3 to 4 chili spice. I think probably closer to a 3. I think for a hockey romance series, like any hockey romance, you're going to be expecting spice. That's just how they are written. But I would say that this series in particular has a decent amount of spice, with the exception of book 3, where I think there was quite a bit more spice in book 3, which was probably also why it was not my favorite, because there is a lot more focus on the physical attraction between those two characters rather than the deep connection. I did, however, enjoy reading about Allie and Dean in book 5 when they kind of show where they are 4 years in the future, really showcasing more of what their relationship looks like and who they are as people. Overall, great series. Would definitely recommend for your reading pleasure if you're looking for a hockey romance. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are joining me new here and you enjoyed this content, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday on bookish related content. For those of you who have been with me for a while now, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of the bookish community. It's so special to be able to build a community with people where it's like like-minded interests and you're really sharing your passions, and in this case it's a passion for reading and consuming all things books. So thank you once again for being here. I am currently working my way through the Maple Hill series as well as Becca Mac's Play Along series as well, and I just finished The Right Move recently, so we are working our way through all them hockey romances. But if there's any other series that you guys think of that I need to check out, or any other authors that I need to read, please consider leaving a comment down below. I would love to look into it. But otherwise, I got nothing else tonight. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.